Look at the sheer physics required for modern warfare. A 30-ton stealth jet tears through the sky at supersonic speeds, pulling 9 Gs. We treat these machines as the ultimate deterrence. They are complex engineering marvels designed to project power and protect national sovereignty from high above. But to survive the extreme friction and heat of supersonic flight, the physical airframe itself requires incredibly resilient materials. It relies on high-grade titanium alloys. Deep inside the propulsion system, the conditions are even more extreme. Engine turbines require precision metal blades capable of withstanding temperatures and pressures that would liquefy standard steel. Advanced systems and stealth tactics are irrelevant if the aircraft itself cannot handle the thermal and physical stress. The base metallurgy sets the hard limit for the performance of the entire platform. Extracting and refining this metal into sponge titanium, the highly porous, pure base material required for aerospace manufacturing, is incredibly resource-intensive. And right now, Western domestic mining operations cannot produce it at the required scale. This chart shows the origin of the sponge titanium currently embedded inside modern Western stealth airframes. You can see that the dominant share of this material, the primary building block for these jets, stems directly from Russian and Chinese state-owned producers. This reliance extends across the entire defense industrial base. The pressure hulls of nuclear submarines, designed to withstand the crushing depths of the ocean, require the exact same imported metal. We are manufacturing the foundation of our defense infrastructure using materials controlled by the exact nations those weapons are designed to deter. To understand how this happens, we have to trace the supply chain backward, starting from the heavily guarded warehouses of major Western aerospace contractors. If we follow the shipping manifests back across the ocean, the logistics route bypasses local suppliers and terminates thousands of miles away, deep inside the massive, state-owned VSMPO-Avisma mines in the Siberian Urals. Logically, you would expect the strict 2026 international sanctions regimes to completely block this flow of resources, but the sanctions contain highly specific strategic loopholes. Western governments intentionally carved out trade exemptions for aerospace metallurgy to ensure their own military production lines wouldn't collapse. At the source, laborers extract tons of raw ore under intense industrial conditions, feeding a continuous supply line aimed straight at the West. Western superpowers are effectively funneling billions of dollars into adversarial state-owned enterprises simply to keep their own military fleets operational. Beijing and Moscow are deeply aware of this leverage. They are no longer operating as passive suppliers in a neutral global market. This graph illustrates the direct correlation between recent export restrictions enacted by adversarial regimes and the surging procurement costs for Western defense materials. By artificially tightening the supply, they force the West to pay a steep premium. The risk goes beyond cost. Intelligence agencies monitor the threat of quality sabotage, where hostile suppliers could intentionally manipulate the purity levels of the foundational metal shipped for critical engine components. Controlling the base metallurgy provides an adversary with a silent, deniable weapon capable of grounding a Western fleet before a kinetic war even begins. If the strategic threat is this severe, the obvious engineering question is why the West doesn't immediately mine and smelt its own titanium. The barrier is financial. There is a multi-billion-dollar gap between purchasing heavily subsidized foreign titanium and building a fully independent domestic supply chain from scratch. Beyond the money, smelting titanium requires massive, continuous electrical loads and generates significant industrial waste. Strict environmental regulations and high energy costs have repeatedly caused attempts to reboot US and European smelting operations to fail. This creates a paralyzing domestication dilemma. The immediate financial and environmental costs of processing the metal locally are overriding long-term national security imperatives. Defense planners are currently modeling a total cutoff scenario. If a kinetic conflict triggers a complete titanium embargo, assembly lines for critical airframes and submarines would stall within months. To mitigate this, the West is attempting an emergency strategy known as friendshoring, diversifying the extraction base by shifting procurement to allied nations before the next major conflict erupts. This involves a massive pivot toward countries with vast mineral reserves, specifically Australia, which is rapidly scaling up its own open-pit extraction capabilities. The strategy also requires expansion into emerging partner nations like Vietnam, building new coastal mining infrastructure to insulate the supply chain against shocks. But relocating global supply chains takes decades of development. Moving extraction to allied soil is a race against time, and current production volumes indicate the West is trailing far behind. Engineers are rapidly developing breakthrough recycling technologies and synthetic alternatives to reduce the reliance on virgin ore. The defense industrial base faces a closing window to decouple its production lines before this reliance becomes an unmanageable point of failure.